The game historically is known by a name we're no longer allowed to say, but Florida and Georgia, any way you take it, goes down as a huge one in the SEC East. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horowitz, glad to be with you, breaking down the SEC Game of the Week presented by Geico. It's number 9 Florida and 20th ranked Georgia from Jacksonville. Both teams 2 losses in the SEC, but it's the Gators that control their own destiny to the SEC title game. And for more, we bring in the man who you will see break it down along with Tim Brando on CBS on the TIAA Cref College Football Today. That is Spencer Tillman joining us from Houston. And Spence, this game, at least heading into it, comes down to one thing and one thing only: the health of Tim Tebow.
Yeah, you have to stop him. That's certainly the case, but he's dinged up. Superman has got some kryptonite near him, it would appear. He's got a shoulder problem. He's not taking any contact this week in preparation for this big-time game in the East, which is wide open right now. So it's going to be intriguing to see how he responds. I can tell you this, for a guy that's responsible for 75% of his team's offense, as I've said in week 2, since it was clearly defined what Urban Meyer was going to do and leaning on his quarterback, it was going to be very problematic to have him carrying the ball as much, and now he's paying for that.
Well, in 7 games, he's accounted for 27 of the Gators' touchdowns, and as you said, 75% of the offense. It's absolutely been incredible. As far as the SEC East goes, as you said, it's a wide-open race. Only once since they've had a championship game in the conference has a team from the East had 2 losses in the conference. That's going to happen this year because everyone in the East already has at least 2 conference losses. Having said that, with a healthy Tim Tebow, would you say that Florida has looked like the best of those teams?
I would say that. I would say that Florida has looked like the best 2-loss team that's out there. I will say this as well, that Florida is probably in the most precarious situation of any 2-loss team in the nation as well. Because if they lose Tebow, then all of a sudden they look like one of the more vulnerable teams out there, period. And so he's that much significant factor in what they're doing offensively, and as a fact, in fact, to the whole team. So he's very important in what they're trying to accomplish there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. If Tim Tebow goes, so too may that offense as well. What about Georgia here? They had a bye to get ready for this Florida game, and we saw last week, and we talked about it, that Florida had a bye to get ready for Kentucky. It helped them get the lead, and they talked about it afterwards, that it was certainly nice to have that bye and get rested up for Kentucky. Georgia's defense has had an extra week to prepare for Tim Tebow, assuming he's going to play, but a healthy Tim Tebow is what they prepared for. How much do you think that helped?
Well, I think it helps him a little bit, but I don't think you can go in assuming that Tim Tebow, for obvious reasons, he's dinged up in his shoulder, that he's going to carry the ball as much. Let's face it, Florida's got some other weapons, and I've got to believe that Urban Meyer is creative enough to get the ball to Ingram, Caldwell, Harvin, to get it to those guys. He's demonstrated he's capable of doing it. He's chosen to go with Tim Tebow because he likes Tim Tebow, and Tim Tebow is a Heisman Trophy candidate, despite the fact that he's a sophomore. So when you factor all that in, you got to ask the question, at what expense do you have him carry that much of the load when you have other viable options out there? So make no mistake about it, this Florida team can score in other ways, and they can produce yards in other ways. In fact, when they had to get it done, they ran the ball effectively well. So without Tebow.
Well, Georgia, is not going to run Matt Stafford. That's one thing you know. He is not going to be the guy running up the middle as being that part of the offense. But only Vanderbilt has a worse pass offense in the SEC, and it's because Georgia likes to run the football. No Sean Moreno. You've got Brown as well. But other than LSU, for the most part this season, teams have not been able to get a good yards per carry on Florida. Auburn beat them, but only at about 2.5 per carry. Does that put all the pressure on Matt Stafford in this game?
I think it does. First of all, Brown and Lumpkin are going to be out. I mean, Lumpkin has the career-ending knee injury, so that's going to be an issue. So all the way squarely on the shoulders of no Sean Marino. And if he can hold up, I think that they'll have a chance. But, again, I think there's kind of a connected success thing working here. If Matt Stafford can have success, he won't have any, game-winning drives late in the quarter against this particular bunch he's about ready to face. But if he can just maintain some effectiveness in his passing attack and be patient back there in the pocket and take what the defense gives him, I think that will loosen up the running opportunity for no Sean Marino, a young guy who we don't know if he can carry the load with those other 2 studs out. So that'll be interesting to keep your eye on that aspect of the game.
Just a freshman is Marino, so certainly a very interesting aspect to this game. And Stafford just a sophomore as well, just like Tim Tebow. Spence, the Bulldogs have lost 15 of the last 17 against the Gators. Does that become 16 of 18?
Well, we've just said that Florida is the best second lost or 2-loss team in the nation. I think that they hold up. I'm not so sure. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mark Richt and what Mike Bobo has done, their offensive coordinator, but I'm just not so sure they're talented enough to stop this Florida team, even with the dinged up Tim Tebow.
All right, folks, the game kicks off on CBS at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, and you can see Spencer Tillman on the TIAA Crev College Football Today with Tim Brando, and we will certainly see you then, buddy.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Folks, they will break that game down at 3 o'clock with the TIAA Crev College Football Today, and then, of course, the game is on CBS at 3:30. For more, check out everything else on CBSSports.com and watch everything else on the CBS Audience Network. For Spencer Tillman, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care.